Okay, we are live on the decision table, and here's the thing. We love to looking at the problem, looking at the solution, and going, how can we narrow the gap from solution to from problem to solution. Oh my gosh. So here's the thing. I've got my coffee. Have you got yours? Your cup of tea? Maybe it's wine time. Have your glass of wine. Get it ready. I'm here in Sydney, Australia. Where are you in the world right now? And by the way, I'm live at this moment, unless you're watching the replay. And if you actually want to talk to me, and I know who it is, you have to give permission to StreamYard. So throughout this conversation, if you're wanting to interact, that's what you need to do. So here's the thing. Now more than ever, I think, I've been talking about this for a long time. The problem that I'm seeing, and the problem that I've seen for a long time, is that if you're different, if you stand out from what is being taught through the systems that we're in, through the leadership that we're a part of, a lot of us, through maybe the way you've been brought up as a young person, that there's the problem that often, unless you fit the mold, where do you fit? And how do you actually have a voice at the decision table? And I think this is where I pulled it apart for a long time, because I was that young girl. I was the one, what many don't see, who have known me in the last little while of my life. You've seen me probably, running companies, in a leadership role. I've been in leadership since I was a young girl. But here's the thing. I didn't look like a leader. I didn't sound like a leader. And I certainly didn't have leadership plastered across my head. It wasn't something I was natural at. It was something that I was drawn to, because I realized that being silent wasn't actually going to give me a voice at the table to help to bring change. And that became something that was really important at the decision table right from a young age. So my story, for many that don't know, I was literally put up for adoption from birth. And so I went in and out of families. I did not have the background that would say, hey, guess what? She's going to be a confident person who will know what she's talking about, know how she stands at the table. In fact, I met in my world much division and hurt, pain, you name it. So, and as a young person growing up, when I was trying to figure out who am I going to be, what is that going to look like, the problem I really realized was this, that there were expectations from those around me of who I should be, what that should look like, and where that should take me going forward. And I really had a hard time, a difficult time. And I mean, like crazy. And if you ever get to see my book that I actually have written, but I haven't released, one day, you will see behind the scenes of actually how many struggles I had as a young person and what I had to deal with and my journey through that. And I tell you this not because it's not about you feeling sorry. It's not about you going, wow, I didn't know that about her. It's about you going, do you understand why I'm even putting? So in this case now, if I think of that was the problem I was seeing. And as a young person, here's the thing, as a young person, I didn't fit in. I had so much, this is such a vulnerable time right now for all of us across the world. And I want to be clear that it wasn't an easy journey. And I will tell more of that story as we get deeper into the decision table, because I think it's important for you to realize that behind the decisions being made are a story. And we need to create places in our workplace where the story is welcomed. So my story as a young person, I began to be a youth speaker for many years, actually, in the youth circuit as a leader with amongst young people, putting on programs for young people. And one of the things I realized and I was probably just in my early 20s, and I realized that, I'd be working with things like situations like those that were young, that had got into prostitution, those that had got on the streets, that were homeless, those that were in gangs. Like I worked with a pretty interesting array of young people and spoke to many, many different groups. And one of the things that I realized was when I put on an amazing speech, when I put on an amazing program, when I put on an amazing opportunity for young people to come and just be connecting in there and be a part of it, do you know what? Their lives changed when they were there. But what got me was when they walked away, they went back to their default system and ended up going straight back into their old lives. They didn't change because what I hadn't done was I hadn't given them tools or resources to be able to bring that change to the table. And that was something that I began looking at and becoming fascinated and absolutely just like, what are patterns? What are things? Why are people getting results? Why do some who have an amazing environment still make silly decisions and then hideous consequences to those decisions? And why then are some that struggle so hard, that don't have all the education, that haven't been told they're amazing, these amazing, successful global leaders across the world? I became fascinated with patterns and figuring out, why is the brain wired to one thing, and then some people are getting this behavior and then getting that result. And why did I do that? Because I wanted to nail what it was to get you to be able to step up at the decision table and have a voice. So that didn't matter. And I realized it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what you had come from. It just mattered how you wanted to wire the brain to actually get different behaviors and bring different results at the table. And that is why I know it's a long-winded thing. Hey, love your vision and your journey. Thank you. I don't know who it is because I can't see your name, but thank you. Appreciate you. Here's the thing. I have vision because of this. Because I wanted to have a voice at the table. I wanted to see change. And as I continue to grow and evolve, I always say it's an evolving thing, that we're bringing solutions that are evolving solutions. It's not that we've arrived. I have not arrived at knowing every single solution to bring to the table. Just for the record, for here, I also put in, I'm not superhuman, because I'm not. But the thing that I do have is that I do have a vision to give voice at the table. And one of the reasons that in 3 days' time, I can't believe it. Like, I'm crazy tired. I'm excited and even just yesterday, instead of someone who I thought we would have to record, it's a little disruptive moment. And if you think of CEOs, you think of a grand piano, you think of leadership resilience, you think of culture, and this person is going to bring the whole lot in one, and he's coming on live, and I can't wait. I can't wait for that to happen at the Global Human Intelligence Forum. And I thought I was going to record him, and because we thought he was going to be in interim with travel, was going to be, and he's coming on board live to be at the Global Human Intelligence Forum, which means we have him in the house and we can go deeper and pull some more things out, which I'm just excited. I'm so excited. But the reason, back to the focus on the decision table, the reason that I found the Global Human Intelligence Forum is a solution to this problem, where we need to create a platform where it is safe for you to come, no matter who you are. If you are driven to want to be able to make a difference in your world, to bring impact, then I don't care how small it is at this moment. I care that you want to move forward. I care that you want to see how you can grow your economy, because here's the thing. When we have access to economy, we also have more access to impact. And so if we can combine the two, I don't believe it's one or the other. I believe that it's actually both. And when you're able to do that, you are able to have a voice. But we cannot start changing the patterns at the table if we don't know what those patterns are. And that is why, like, it's exciting because I've got leaders coming. And I mean leaders, you could be a leader. Most of these leaders are actually amazing leaders in there and built communities and are really impacting in their own sphere of influence. But here's the thing. If you're not in their world, you probably don't know them. So don't worry. If you feel that maybe you don't have something to offer, I always believe if you have a, what's the word? If you have the willingness to want to grow, to want to learn, to want to add what you do know. If you're past 10 years of age, if you're past 5 years of age, you've had some time in this world, right? And so you've got something to add. And I love the droplets of wisdom. There is no age limit to this. There is no, you've got to be this or doing that. This is the interesting thing. And one of the reasons I've chosen global leaders of their industry is so that you can see people who are of all walks of life. People that have been, one of them has been a single mom who, was broke. And she now is a multi-millionaire with multi companies, and doing some amazing things. But why? Because she decided one day that, she could keep going down this path of having nothing, but it wasn't going to leave a legacy for her kids. And then we've got, and that's Danelle, and we've got people like Mike A great friend of mine. And if you don't want fluff, you don't want to muck around, and you want to know some proven strategies to how you build that economy, how to get back up on your feet, but not get back up on your feet and just survive, but thrive, then you don't want to miss what he's got to talk about. Or another amazing friend, Ingrid, she, to me, has had to be knocked down a fair so many times, and yet she gets back up. She gets back up because her vision is so strong. In other words, she knows what the problem is that she's wanting to get, and she's saying these are the solutions, and it's technology, and it's empowering women, and it's making a difference across the globe for humanity. And how do we narrow that gap? And so she's doing whatever it takes to be able to do that. It's amazing. And then my great friend, Earl, he is, he's a beautiful American of African descent, as he identifies himself. And I think that is the most beautiful way to identify. We get into the conversations hugely around how do we get that from identifying as an American of African descent to going, hey, this is humanity, and humanity steps forward, and together we are the same because of humanity. Don't get me wrong. We bring distinctions. to the table. And so that, how do we add value to humanity? How do we move humanity forward? What would that look like in the workplace and, in our own personal worlds as well? Because there's not one or the other. Again, people like to put personal over here, professional over here. What I want to do is narrow that gap, because I believe that it doesn't matter what's happening in your personal life. It doesn't matter what's happening in your professional life. It is going to be taken into whatever you do and wherever you impact out in the world. Here's the thing, we can only do this if we create a platform that is safe. So at the Global Human Intelligence Forum, we want to provide a safe platform, a platform where you can come in and start learning some different thinkings, have some different insights from people who are doing it, maybe a little different to you, and then going, how can I bring this back into my workplace? How can I bring this back into my own personal life as a parent, as a maybe you're coming out of transition and you're moving on into that. I'm a grandparent myself. I've got a couple of grandkids and another one on the way. So I'm a Gigi. And just for the record, because I don't like being called a nana or a granny. Anyway, so maybe that's your story and you're wondering, how can you keep impacting in your world and making a difference and adding to that? So, and then, a great friend of mine, by the way, who is going to be having hip surgery. He must be in there now having it. Because he's coming to the Global Human Intelligence to input in there. And he's already, been doing 23 years in the military. And he was one of the ones that would run teams and disarm bombs. So I think he's got a few things to say. And I don't know, I'm just grateful. And then there's Chris, who is he's the most dedicated to the physical and the mental that I've probably ever seen in a person, to the point that I go, dude, are you superhuman? Because he's just relentless at mastering peak performance, and he's also got an amazing, beautiful soul. I love to get to hang out with Chris, and he is going to add so much value to the Global Human Intelligence. And then we've got Laurie, who is a lobbyist in Ohio, and goes in and gives voice and stories to be heard, giving them their stories to be heard in government sector, and so and public sector. So she's amazing. Just when I get to interview, I'm going to be interviewing all of the speakers, and when we get to go behind the scenes, we're going to look at there's no questions that I don't ask. I don't hold back. I don't know if you've noticed, I don't hold back. And that's because I think that, for us to stand out and to lead in whatever we're meant to be doing, you have to have the full story. You have to understand why someone has decided to do something, and maybe it is time, maybe that thinking that they've decided to make that decision isn't actually relevant to you, but what they did over there, you totally go, that's aligned with where your vision is and where you want to go. So, there's some amazing, and then we've got Giovanni from Archangel. Oh my goodness. I'm fascinated to hear more of what he's got to say and his thinking. He comes from a very different aspect, and I think that will open up. He's made an amazing community and connection, and continues to grow his movement. So there is, I hope I haven't missed anyone. Oh, Dr. George Broombach. Oh my goodness, is going to be in the house. He is so smart. He is so smart at the way that he has his high performance strategies, and the way that he says them. You just go, hey, I could do that. And that would be awesome to put into my business, my company, my organization. Yeah, again, actually, he was in the military, and so I think there's just some amazing, the way that they've learned to make decisions, the way they logically and strategize is fascinating. And if you want to learn something new, if you're not if you realize that we can continue to do it the same, but the way we're going to change is if we put ourselves in environments that maybe it's not your norm, and maybe it's not an environment that you've been in before, having this sort of conversation, but this is now more than ever. We all are agreeing that there is time for change and things to change. And the only way we're going to do that is if we create, hey, Ryan, you're in the house. I hope you get to come to the Global Human Intelligence. It would be awesome to have you there. But, we have got to be willing to have a different conversation, be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. With the uncomfortable, and be willing to go, maybe we don't have it all, but maybe I could add this. Maybe I don't have it all, but maybe there's someone else smart in the room that has just some nugget, or I always say droplet of wisdom that we can take on and be able to go out and do what we're meant to do in a bigger way. We want to have your back. This is a platform where it's safe. It's a platform where we just want to help you to be able to increase in what you're meant to be doing and taking to the world. So, this has been a long one today at the decision table. It's not always this long, but I think I've probably been bottling it up because I'm busy at my desk working hard at the moment as I prep for the next 3 days. And I just want to finish. I actually woke this morning really, really early, and I got up and I started looking at the sunrise. It was probably the most amazing sunrise I've ever seen in Sydney, Australia. And I did it because there's a little surprise in the event, and I wanted to capture that moment for it. And I'm so glad I did, because the colors that came from the sky, the beauty that was just from the water, and just seeing it as a new day rose reminded me, and I hope it reminds you, that the world is full of amazing colors. We need you at the decision table. We need humanity to have a voice. We need our economy to keep increasing. And with that, making sure our impact is adding value to humanity. And if this sounds like something you want to be a part of, oh my gosh, so good to see you here, Johan. If this is something you want to be a part of, then we welcome you. I'm encouraging those that do have leadership in communities and that's sort of one thing that I'm getting out there today, is that if you do, make sure, like we've got an amazing woman bringing her whole team from across the world, and she goes, I'm so excited because they're coming in from across the world and they're going to be at the event. Because here's the other thing that is sometimes a struggle when we're out there, is you get excited, you get back into it going, this is how I want to do things, this is how I want to see change, this is what I want to do going forward. You go back into your team and they're like, what are you on? What has happened? Why are you saying these things? So imagine if you could have your team in the house with you. We've made it so easy that it's like you can buy 10 tickets for $10. $10 for 10. Oh my gosh, you can tell I need to drink my coffee. Wait on. I'll tell you in a second. Okay, you can buy a ticket for $10. And you can buy a bundle of 10 of them for $100. Why are we doing that? Because we don't want barriers for you to get your team there. We also think that for those that are leaders that have communities, maybe there's people in your community that this could make the massive difference to them. And you want to give them a ticket because you know they'll be the right person in the room. I would rather have a smaller group of right people than a bigger group of wrong people. And I have to tell you, at the moment, we have an amazing group from people from across the world. I'm actually going to send out a message to them to find out where from. But I know so far, there's places like Zimbabwe. There's places like over, oh my gosh, I don't even know. There's lots of places. Australia, America, Europe. There's some, even Europe people, people from Crazy Hour are going to join in no matter what Crazy Hour it is. So if they can do it, let's get it. Yes, I've been off Facebook this week. What I'm talking about is the Global Human Intelligence Forum. I will put the link in, and I invite every single one of you that has a community or wants to increase in your, what you're doing across the world economy wise, because we've got to bring in that income and we've got to have growth there, and we've got to be able to scale our growth. If you want to learn some amazing new things, some things that people are going to be doing as they move forward from global leaders, then you want to be in the room and know that we don't think it's one or the other. It is also about impacting humanity going forward and adding value to humanity. So I will put the link in. It starts in 3 days. And even if you can't make the whole lot, what we do say is I reckon you just should knock everything else out, because I've put a lot of work in to make sure it is going to be an amazing experience. We will, of course, have recordings later, but much later. And by the way, if you don't pre-order on those, they do cost a lot of money compared. So just letting you know. All right. So the experience will be not just, just be in the room, just be a part of it. I feel like we're pioneering something new, and I want you to be a part of that. Don't you want to be a part of it? This is history. All right. Peace out and see you soon.